Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Tons of crypto media outlets have covered this story, but frankly, pretty much none of them accurately highlight the most important part of this story. And so here's the headline. Ripple and Circle back Tazapay in Series B to power global payment infrastructure. And so why is Ripple investing money in a payments company when they themselves are a payments company? Aren't they just funding their competition? I mean, some people have asked this, fair enough question, actually. But actually, it turns out there's a very good reason for doing what they're doing. And frankly, XRP holders will absolutely love it. So I'm going to break down what it is in easy to understand words. Because I feel a lot of times I feel like these crypto media stories, they will write the story, but basically what they're doing is they're taking the press release, which isn't going to mouth feed you the most important part if you're an XRP holder. And so the part that's most relevant to XRP holders then doesn't sufficiently tend to get reported in these stories. So again, I'll break it down. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, let's jump into this. Ripple and Circle Ventures were among the heavyweight investors that participated in the Series B funding round for Tazapay, a cross-border payments infrastructure platform. The round was led by Peaks, whatever that number is at the 15 partners. XV, that's got to be 15, right? Because X is 10, V is 5, so that's 15 because it's on the V's on the right of the X. I'm guessing it's peak 15 partners. Or just yell at me and tell me I'm an idiot on the internet in the comment section. The internet was created, like I always say, the internet was created to bitch to people and about people and businesses and stuff. So go ahead. You can do that in the comment section below. You have my blessing there. So we'll just go with that. Peak 15 partners. An existing investor and also saw participation from two Japanese venture capital firms. Oh man, this is gonna be fun. Numchuck Capital. There, it's Nunchuck Capital. That's what it. Nailed it. Hashtag nailed it. And GMO Venture Partners. Existing investors January Capital and ARC 180 also joined the round. According to a press release, Tazapay, which is already licensed in Singapore, Canada, and the European Union, will use the funds raised to accelerate its licensing roadmap across key global markets. And so, folks, right there, I can see why you're like, wait, they're a payments company. Ripple's not buying them, so why are they getting any money then? Ripple's a payments company. Just sit tight with me. I'm going to get to it. There's an actual real good strategic reason, which frankly is good for XRP utility itself. Anyway, piece continues. Rahul Singhal, Tazapay's co-founder and chief executive, outlined how the funding moves his company closer to its goal of becoming a payout infrastructure built on emerging rails. We're entering the next chapter of our journey, one where modern payment technologies, regulatory compliance, and partnerships with global leaders will enable the future of cross-border commerce. With this round, we are not just capitalizing the business, we are investing in our long-term vision to become the builder of a global payment collection and payout infrastructure built on modern rails, Singhal stated. Now, given that XRP is trying to be the go-to source on an enterprise level for all things crypto, it's notable that Ripple has absolutely changed their pitch. Like if you ask for the elevator pitch, if you were asked Brad Garlinghouse, what is it that Ripple does? He'll no longer say that, oh yeah, we're a company we're a fintech company that engages in foreign exchange transactions. Nothing of the sort. He wouldn't say anything even close to that. The go-to answer now, and this started within the last couple of years at some point, has been more along the lines of we're trying to do all things crypto on an institutional and enterprise level. Now, XRP is still at the core of this, and people have been questioning, so what's this mean for XRP then in terms of these foreign exchange transactions? Because that's what Ripple's been well known for most of the time they've existed. Do they still care about foreign exchange transactions? Do they still believe that it makes sense to build out the Internet of Value in the way that it was originally described over a decade ago by Ripple, one of the Ripple founders, Chris Larsen? Well, the answer is yes, very obviously, or they would not be doing what they're doing right now. They're investing real money to ensure that that original vision, which is still absolutely alive and well, and this is evidence of it, they're here to see that this absolutely ends up being, well, continues to be a massive success. So here's why. The piece continues. The CEO disclosed that one of the key use cases this infrastructure serves is being the fiat bridge for stablecoins in emerging markets. Now, to be clear here, he cited stablecoins. That would be good for RLUSD. Anything that's good for RLUSD on the XRP ledger is absolutely good for XRP. So it doesn't mean that XRP wouldn't continue to be a key component in terms of foreign exchange transactions, but I've made the argument before and I stand by it. Even if Ripple decided that every single foreign exchange transaction, instead of using XRP as a bridge currency, should now use RLUSD, that still helps to ensure the long-term viability of XRP. Because look, XRP doesn't even have to have that use case to have long-term viability. Now, it does have that use case, but it doesn't have to, because it does a bunch of other stuff. And even if it's just functionally useful for one use case, well, do you really think that people are going to stop investing in it? Because my investment thesis at its core is that utility matters and will win the day. And I think those coins that are functionally useful are going to continue to adopt a crowd. Like, it's going to attract a crowd. That is what's happening here. But check this out. What's Ripple have to say? Well, Eric Jeck, Senior Vice President of Corporate and Business Development at Ripple, described Tazapay as, quote, a clear leader, end quote, in the race to build essential but compliant last-mile connections in emerging markets. Jeck added, quote, we're proud to invest in Tazapay in this next phase of their growth and together provide best-in-class payment solutions in key regions such as APAC, end quote. Well, that's kind of fascinating. Did you catch the important part there? You see, so here's what's happening, and you can see it in the quote from the Ripple executive there. Ripple is still laying the rails of the future of digital payments. Absolutely they are. That's what this is. Their investment in Tazapay isn't about reinventing Ripple payments, certainly not. You know, it's about plugging Ripple's blockchain rails, which do utilize XRP and RLUSD, by the way, into Tazapay's licensed global payment network. That's the key part. You see, Tazapay already covers 70 plus markets with local fiat collection and payouts. So now imagine that infrastructure running on XRP as the bridge and RLUSD as the stablecoin rail. So, like, for example, just imagine a business in Singapore pays a supplier in Mexico. So Tazapay handles the local money in and money out. And in the middle, Ripple settles the value instantly with RLUSD and XRP. The result? Well, faster, cheaper, compliant cross-border payments that actually scale. That's what's been at their core mission since Ripple's inception. And so yes, Ripple's doing other stuff. They've gotten into custody. They bought Hidden Road, the prime brokerage firm, and that's a massive move on their part. So they're obviously doing other stuff. But what I'm saying is they haven't lost sight of this. They seem to be able to sufficiently juggle all of these major and in some ways quite different approaches to market dominance. I mean, these are just different categories in terms of services. You could find overlap. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying these are markedly different in many ways, many of these things. But what I'm saying is they're still successfully achieving them. Ripple's got more money than God, let's be real. And so they've been able to buy large companies that have dominated various aspects of crypto and companies that they'd like to integrate into crypto. That's what they're doing. It's brilliant and it's working, and thankfully they have the funds to do it. And it's great that they're doing it because they have more than any person or business to lose monetarily if XRP doesn't do well. So XRP is at the core of everything that they do. It always has been and probably always will be. Unless decades from now, we're in a point where they just hold almost no XRP and then they care less. But by then, we've already seen that XRP is a success, presumably, like even to a greater degree than it already is. So what's this mean? Well, for XRP holders, what this means is more real-world usage and deeper liquidity and Ripple, frankly, embedding itself in the global payment stack and not competing with players like Tazapay, of course. And the reason I keep mentioning this because I did see a couple people questioning that on X, for example. But Ripple's powering them instead. And so, to be clear, basically the differentiator between Ripple payments specifically, which is their software package, the difference between Ripple payments and Tazapay is that Tazapay already has the licenses. They got the local payment rails and compliance built in across dozens of markets. Things Ripple doesn't directly operate, and Ripple builds the blockchain rails, and that's where you use XRP as a bridge currency, RLUSD. And so Tazapay, what they're actually doing, they're not messing with the portion where there's a bridge currency. They're handling the messy last mile collection and payout, but they've got all the licensing to do that. So they're partnering with the right people, and that's why they're funding them. And so together, it's a more complete package. That's the answer at its core. So to see this today and knowing what this means, and that's the key part that really pretty much no crypto media outlet was writing about. And to know that this is happening right now, it's further proof that Ripple absolutely is. It's not that they haven't given up on XRP as a bridge currency and the Internet of Value, that whole thing. They're moving full steam ahead, folks. They obviously are. It's just that they're doing other stuff too. And sometimes when Ripple does other stuff, then they're like, okay, but what about XRP doing the other thing? Okay. They're still doing it, okay? Clearly they're still doing it. I'm showing you right here. This is obviously the case. This is great for XRP holders. So chill, girl, chill. Everything gonna be all right. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.